Hello again, and let's go back to the life cycles. In the last one, we take the life cycle of the flowering plant and the life cycle of the non-flowering plants, and I hope you understand this part very well. Today, we're gonna take the pollination. What's pollination? I told you before to imagine that we only have like one tree, like um, a very little amount of plants, and we want to make this plant reproduce, which means we're going to make this plant to give more of this kind to make a large garden full of these plants and this tree. What happens to do this? Actually, there is a process that's called pollination. What's pollination? The pollen grain is something that's found inside the flower, just like the blue tiny small balls. This pollen grain has to be transferred from one flower to another one. And the transfer of the pollen grain from one flower to another flower, this actually induce the other flower which is accepting the new pollen grain to produce seed. It will reproduce and get the seed. And when we have the seed, the cycle will repeat itself again. When we have the seed will grow and will develop root down and stem up to push it out of the soil, and it will has the sunlight, the carbon dioxide, it will has the water and the food to be seeding and this the adult plant, and then this adult plant will grow more and more and make a flower, and this flower has a pollen grain is waiting for someone to go and to pick this pollen grain and to give it to another flower, and when it picks to another flower, the other flower the pollen grain will induce it to produce seed, and this seed will also repeat the cycle again. And this is how they reproduce. So all the plants, or some plants, are reproducing through the pollination, which means transfer of the pollen grain from one flower to another flower, but they have to be from the same species, from the same type, which means this violet flower has to transfer the pollen grain from this violet one to another violet one, not to a red one or a blue one or different species. No, it has to transfer this pollen grain from the same species to the same species also. Okay, طيب. Think about who will transfer the pollen grain from the flower to another flower. Think about it. Think about it. Yes, the insects like the bees can move from one flower to another flower, so they can pick with them the pollen grain from one flower to another flower, so they can transfer the pollen grain easily. Also, the wind can take the pollen grain from a flower to another one easily. Okay, so pollination means the movement of pollen grain from the flower to another flower to make what? To make seeds. Because when we have seed, the cycle will repeat itself again and again and again. Okay, so this is pollination. This is how the plant reproduce. And we know that the flowering plant, this is a difference between flowering and non-flowering. The flowering produces flower, the non-flowering produce cones like this one. And this cone is the one that makes the seed. So we have to transfer the pollen grain from one cone to another, not from one flower to another. Okay? So the small cones make the pollen grain, and the pollen grain moves by the wind to the larger one to make the seed. So flowering produce flower, and non-flowering produce cones. Okay, the seed is inside the flower. Yes, the seed is made up by the flower, but in non-flowering the seed is inside the cone. Yes, this is right. And an example for the flowering is a bee plant, and the example for the non-flowering is pine tree or fir tree. Okay, this is the difference between flowering and non-flowering. Thank you so much for watching.